So we have some more Tier Zoo in the building. Tier Zoo has finally decided to drop again, and we got worms. Okay, my only interaction with worms was roly-polies worms. I don't know, man. Let's get it. What is good, HollaSquad? We are the latest spot on the YouTube platform. This day we're back with another reaction, and this is an earthworm is level 50 versus a level 50 Curabura. I don't even know how to pronounce that. A leech. A leech is a worm. I did not know that. Now there's no way there is a S tier worm, because if there is, it's probably in Australia, and I don't need to worry about it anyway. Okay, but if it ever makes its way towards where I reside, yo, pass me a bazooka, get that thing up out of here. Let's get it.
The humble worm may be one of the most overlooked characters in the entire game. Though they may seem powerless and pathetic, in reality the worm faction has access to some of the rarest, most extraordinary special abilities in the game, and can be a nightmare to play against. But which worm builds are dominating the meta, and which are just bait? Find out in the worm tier list. But before we dive into the rankings, what even is a worm? Even though they're the most numerous creatures in the game, technically there's no such thing as—
Hold on, wait a minute.
A worm. Even though they're the most numerous creatures—
They said 80% of all individual animals on Earth. Hold up. 80% of all animals on Earth are worms? That is insane.
In the game, technically there's no such thing as a single all-encompassing worm faction. Worm builds are actually part of several different, distantly related factions, but there are many similarities they share. All worms have long, tube-shaped character models with minimal or non-existent appendages, enabling them to weave in and out of tight spaces easily. Simple as it may be, this has proven to be one of the most reliable body plans in the history of the game, as worms have been in the game since pretty much patch 1.0. As far as base stats go, worms are not particularly stacked. Now, credit where it's due, because of their excellent regenerative perks and uniquely advanced burrowing abilities, they do score pretty high in both vitality and stealth. And there are exceptions that score high in other stats as well. But in general, they have below average base stats in almost every skill. With simple brains, no weapons, no armor, and no legs, the average worm is pretty lacking in their intelligence, power, defense, and mobility stats. The exceptions are where it gets—
Who just be sitting here recording this like, oh, they got him. Ooh, look at him go. They eating that boy up right there.
Interesting though. So without further ado, let's dig into the tier list.
Ice worm.
First in F tier, the ice worm. This build takes the burrowing capabilities of the worm in an unconventional direction and opts to dig through glaciers rather than solid earth. This is a pretty unique gimmick as it grants them completely uncontested access to glacial algae as a food source. But unfortunately, it seems like unlocking the ability to burrow through ice must have cost all their evolution points, because the ice worm has some pretty glaring flaws in its strategy. First, the ice worm's stealth stat is abysmal.
Terrible.
Its jet black appearance offers zero camouflage against the icy white surroundings, making them extremely easy for birds to spot from above and pick off. A few extra points into snow camouflage would go a long—
But do birds be in frozen ecosystems like that?
Long way here. And the second flaw, ice worms ironically have almost zero freezing resistance or heat resistance.
Bro, how are you going to be a worm that burrows through ice and you got no ice resistance? Yo, patch these boys right now. They don't deserve to be in a server.
They die immediately if temperatures drop below freezing, and melt if temperatures rise.
Hold on. You are made to burrow through ice, which water becomes ice at the temperature of freezing, and you will die at freezing temperatures? Yo, how are they in the game, bruh?
To even a few degrees above freezing. Luckily, due to a quirk of the game's physics engine, the temperature of glacial ice is fairly stable at their exact Goldilocks zone, But as we've seen lately, relying on glaciers as a stable habitat is quite the gamble. It wouldn't take too much to make this build completely broken, but for now, it's the lowest ranked worm on this list.
Earthworm.
Also in F tier, we have the earthworm. Yes, it's true, the archetypal worm everyone knows and loves is a low tier. Earthworms have terrible stats. It has no offensive moves, no armor, and isn't quick enough to rely on speed to escape attacks. What's worse, even the one special ability earthworms are believed to have is a bit overrated. Earthworms, like most worms, can regenerate from damage and potentially even survive grievous wounds, if they manage to get away. But that's a big if.
Yeah.
Most builds that spec into high passive health regen also tend to spec into the autotomy perk as well. This perk allows the user's appendages to break off if grabbed, allowing them to escape a grappling attack. This is a costly ability and one that I normally don't speak very highly of, but situationally it can be extremely clutch. Earthworms do not have this perk, and so when attacked, they often cannot do anything except tank the damage and try to burrow away. If that doesn't work, they're completely out of options.
The leech.
In D tier, we have the leech. As the literal namesake for the term used to describe deliberately being carried by the rest of your team, I actually think leeches are done a bit dirty. Yes, many leech players do fit the description, attacking a player in a higher weight class and just coasting off the free XP. But there are plenty of leech players who play an honest, active hunting strategy and have to fight to survive, same as any other predatory build. Like most other aquatic builds, they thrive off of their strong matchup against low tiers like frogs, and spawn camp them mercilessly. Leeches share the same garbage base stats as most other worms though, and with lackluster defenses and mobility, they still get one-shot by fish, birds, and snakes all the time. Frankly, the parasite strategy might actually be the less viable of the two, as leeches are not well protected at all when attached to a host, and can easily get picked off by perceptive players.
Horsehair worm. I've never heard of this before. This looks like a grasshopper though, no?
In C tier, we have the horsehair worm. This nematode takes the burrowing proficiency of the worm faction and uses it for an unorthodox purpose, burrowing into flesh. Horsehair worm players opt for the parasitoid game plan, infecting their hosts when they drink from contaminated water.
Bruh, I've seen one of these get pulled out of a praying mantis before. Yo, buddy was mad long. I don't know how the praying mantis took the whole thing. Ayo, but it looked ayo.
It then uses its burrowing ability to pierce the digestive tract and hide out in the insect's circulatory system, leeching XP from it as it continues its playthrough relatively unimpeded.
Oh, wow.
Once the worm reaches its max level, it activates its special ability, Mind Control, to change the insect's quest objective marker to the nearest body of water. Once the insect player self...
What? Bro, this is a S tier freaking ability. It might be in a D tier animal, but this is a S tier ability. Yo, buddy is going to stay inside you while you eat, is going to steal your nutrients. Once it become at its peak level, is going to take over your mind and make you harakiri yourself. You're done.
Structs, the worm burrows out of its body and continues with the rest of its playthrough. This strategy is incredibly effective and requires very little technical skill, as once you successfully infect a host, you can farm XP entirely AFK. Mind Control is one of the most powerful abilities in the game, and it's shocking the devs gave it to a random worm build. Still, as with any parasitoid playstyle, the main downside is that your survival is tied to that of your host.
Yeah.
So if you pick a scrub, you might get one shot when they accidentally wander too close to a spider's den. And this isn't just a hypothetical. In fact, in some servers, the fish player base is literally reliant on janitoring the self-destructing players.
Wow.
Still, at least by being an internal parasite, they don't run the risk of being picked off like the
C tier
leech
pretty
does.
straight though. Fireworm.
In B tier, we have the fireworm, a marine build with excellent defensive stats. Fireworms have toxic spines, which inflict serious damage on any player dumb enough to attack them. This effect is powerful enough that even large tank builds cannot just eat the damage, and will learn quickly not to mess with them. Unfortunately for fireworm mains, because their spikes are small and fragile, they cannot pierce thick chitin or keratin armor. This means any player with a thick exoskeleton can completely negate.
Bro, watching
thick...
what is it? This gotta be this some type of crab. I don't know. Watching my mans eat this like we be eating crab legs is nuts. Buddy just breaking off the legs.
Chitin or keratin armor. This means any player with a thick exoskeleton can completely negate the fireworm's defense and crush them like they would any other worm. Some fish mains have also spec'd into the beak attribute in order to be able to do the same thing. Parrotfish and pufferfish are a huge problem for builds that rely on defensive abilities, as their powerful beaks can crush armor and don't take damage from poison spikes. So, fireworms are untouchable to a lot of players, but there's enough counterplay prevalent in the meta right now that I can't give them a high tier rank.
Hold on, where'd they go? C tier?
Also in B tier, we have the
B
tube
tier.
worm. Of all the lazy AFK XP farming builds in the game, there isn't a single one that goes to as extreme of lengths to do so as the tube worm. The tube worm has crazy high toxic damage resistance, not because it needs to tank venom damage, not because it preys upon builds that use poison for defense. No, the tube worm needs toxic damage resistance because its strategy is to set up shop next to deep sea hydrothermal vents and basically eat the sulfur jetting out from them.
Oh wow.
It absorbs hydrogen sulfide using its plume, and because of a special team-up ability they have with bacteria, they're actually able to use that as an XP source, meaning they don't even need to really eat at all. They don't need to find food, they just constantly absorb the noxious sulfur spewing out of these vents.
That's crazy.
Because the sulfide turns water around these vents toxic, the tube worm doesn't have to worry about attacks from predators. They do, however, have to worry about the vents shutting down. Hydrothermal vents do not last forever, and when they go dark, or erupt into lava flows, it's GG for entire colonies of tube worms. An incredibly effective XP farming technique, but like a lot of these types of strats, it works until it doesn't.
Velvet worm?
In A tier, we have the velvet worm. This build has even worse defensive stats than the other worms, as it doesn't have the same slime coating that the others do. However, it makes up for it by converting that slime ability into one of the most unique abilities in the game,
eyeballs?
a projectile attack. The velvet worm can
Yo, no way I'm in the wilderness getting creamed on by no worm. It's not happening.
fire a glue-like slime from its papillae. This slime attack deals
A glue-like slime. Come on, we know what that looks like. But
no damage. It's not toxic and doesn't hit with near enough force to be threatening on its own. However, the slime is sticky and hardens quickly, debuffing the target's speed stat and potentially even completely immobilizing it.
Yo, they need to call this the Gooner worm. This is the Gooner worm. We know what this is, okay? Buddy goons everywhere. It gets all sticky and hard, and now you're stuck. Listen, I've seen this before.
This slime is extremely strong once hardened, similar to spider silk in terms of what it's capable of immobilizing. Even builds with vastly higher power stats are not safe from being essentially frozen by the velvet worm's attacks. Now, while this is no doubt a powerful ability,
That's crazy.
it has plenty of limitations. It is woefully inaccurate and will struggle to hit smaller or evasive targets consistently. It is also relatively short-ranged, only being able to hit targets a few body lengths away. And because it doesn't deal any direct damage, even if the Velvet Worm manages to pin down a build like the Centipede or Scorpion, it'll still be taking on considerable counterattack risk when it tries to approach. And last in A tier, we have the Bobbit Worm. This build is easily one of the most terrifying things, not just in the Worm faction, but in the entire game. The Bobbit Worm is a mid-sized benthic worm build which can burrow up to 10 feet deep.
Now, when we say mid-size for a worm, what is mid-size?
Into the ocean floor. However, unlike most burrowing worm builds, the Bobbit Worm is not a scavenger. It's not burrowing to look for food scraps or to escape predators. No, the Bobbit Worm is an ambush build. It lies in wait, and as soon as another player wanders close enough to its burrow, it strikes, using what may genuinely be the most wicked pair of mandibles in the entire game. These powerful jaws inflict devastating damage, while simultaneously hooking into their target so that it can be dragged down below the ocean floor, never to be seen again. Now, despite their ferocity, I don't want to overhype the Bobbit Worm. Though they are menacing, skilled players can play around their threat range pretty easily.
Look at the color on it.
Their low perception stats make them pretty inaccurate when lunging towards their targets. Their attacks are deceptively slow, and as long as you position yourself even slightly above the seabed, they should be reactable and easily dodged. Skilled fish players have even been known to drive Bobbit Worm players out of their territory by teaming up and mobbing their burrows. This requires a successful perception check with a pretty high DC, but if your party is competent enough, you really shouldn't have to worry about Bobbit Worms that much. Despite being easily the most terrifying build on this list, the Bobbit Worm's poor frame data and predictable game plan keeps it out of the higher tiers.
Hammerhead flatworm.
And in S tier, we have the Hammerhead flatworm. flatworms are
Yo, the fact that a worm got an S tier, buddy, I'm not believing. I want to know where worms are total. They got to be D tier or F tier. There's no way. The worms as a collective, not that low.
the solo hunters of the worm
They down there with them freaking ostriches. Okay, y'all know how I feel about the ostrich build.
faction, and the hammerhead flatworm is one of the best at it. They're faster than other worms, which isn't saying a lot, but still, it's relevant. They possess a devastatingly powerful neurotoxic slime, the same toxin found in pufferfish and blue-ringed octopus,
wow.
which they employ both offensively and defensively. But their most recognizable feature, their wide, flat head, was
That's
a bit
right,
of a
it's
gamble
pulsing.
in terms of how they spent their evolution points. By speccing into the hammerhead attribute, these flatworms sacrificed their ability to dig efficiently. But in doing so, they greatly boosted their perception stat. Similar to the hammerhead shark, the flatworm's hammerhead is loaded with chemoreceptors, enabling the worm to track down prey by following its scent. In addition to their toxic defense, flatworms are the best regenerators in the game, able to heal all the way back to full health even when cut into tiny pieces. They can really only be permanently defeated by non-physical damage, such as dehydration, salt, acid, that sort of thing.
No, okay, they're broken. They're broken. This is S tier deserved for. This is definitely deserved for S tier, bruh. You cut it into 10 pieces and it turned into 10 worms. Yo, dog.
Because it's
So I wonder what happens when an animal eats it. If it eats it, does it regenerate in their stomach, or regenerate into different pieces in their stomach? Because if they do, that's crazy.
borderline unkillable through conventional combat, the hammerhead flatworm is the only worm build to achieve the rank of S tier. The hammerhead flatworm's excellent tracking abilities ensure that even without eyes, it knows exactly where it's going.
That's crazy.
And even though I do have eyes, to be totally honest, sometimes I still get lost while exploring the internet.
That's
Or
why
at
we
least I
have
used to,
Brilliant.
until I started using today's sponsor, Opera.
Opera. Okay, listen. I'm not gonna lie. I didn't know they had worms like that. Like hammerhead worms. That one that's underwater. Bro, people be worried about space. If we ever get taken into the water, we are cooks. Okay, we are absolutely fried. Done. I'm staying away from that. But the hammerhead, I wonder where they reside, because I mean they're poisonous, so I kind of don't want to run into them. But I think it would be interesting if I seen one out and be like, told everybody, bro, this is a hammerhead worm. Now I wouldn't be one of those Dennis the Menaces that cut it up into pieces and watch it regenerate over time. That would be a sickness. Okay. But listen, y'all like, comment, subscribe, all that great stuff. Y'all let me know how y'all felt about this video. Which worm do y'all think was the best? I'm going hammerhead worm. And I don't know, the ice worm, low key, he said it could be broken. And I wonder what could make it a broken build. I think that's the second interesting one. The fact that they live in ice but die at freezing temperatures is nuts. But I'm going to see y'all a little bit later. Make sure y'all like, comment, subscribe, all that great stuff. And until the next time I see y'all, peace.